And we are live. What's up, guys? We got JustPearlyThings joining us for a special live stream. And if you guys are not familiar with her channel, it's quite interesting. The way she described to me is like an outsider looking into the man's dating space, which I think is pretty interesting. And she's got some funny stuff there. So without further ado, thank you for coming on, Pearl.
Thanks for having me.
That is indeed your real name. It's good to have you. So yeah, I guess I kind of give a little bit more of an intro. Like, what exactly do you do?
Well, on my channel, I really just react to like men's dating advice. So it all started with the red pill, and then from that, I found like pickup artistry as well.
The pickup artistry.
Is that what you call it? PUAs, right?
Yeah, the PUAs. And how did you like start doing this? What was the spark?
Someone just sent me, I had a reaction like to music to start, and then someone just sent me like Kevin Samuels. So that was like the first person I saw on like the red pill, and then that led to Fresh and Fit and all the other like manosphere content creators. And then I found John Anthony's channel, and that was how I found the like PUAs.
How did you find his channel?
I don't remember what video it was, but it compared dating to like a sales approach.
Okay.
And I just registered with me because I used to work in sales. So a lot of the stuff he said just made a lot of sense to me.
Cool. I used to actually work in sales myself too.
Okay.
What kind of sales did you do?
I sold copiers, so like the worst sales job you could possibly have.
Yeah, there's some stiff competition in the selling copiers market. I hear it's real cutthroat in there.
Yeah. I know a weird amount about like paper, to be honest.
I mean, that is a huge turn on for most men. So, okay. And so let's get like right into it then. So what would you say? We'll start with men. What would you say are some of the bad dating advice that you see on the internet?
Well, I think a lot of times they tell men to like, you're the prize, like they should chase you. And I don't necessarily think that's bad advice, but sometimes they don't build a girl's interest enough in order to make her do that.
Very true.
So what I liked about John Anthony is that he talked about how, you know, you need to build a girl's interest before you can really make these like demands of her to chase you, because a girl will chase you, but like there are times where like she doesn't know you when she first meets you. So how are you supposed to show her that you're the high value man or whatever if she doesn't know who you are?
No, that's a very good point, because a lot of, especially in the red pill community, they say like, oh, I remember I was in a live stream once with what's his name? He's such a fag, I forget his name. I'll think of it later. But anyway, so one guy was like, hey, you know, I'm one of the audience members. I'm not having much success with women. You know, what do you think I should do? It's like a pretty broad question, right? You know, it's like, talk about that for a while. And like this guy, he's like, oh, dude, don't worry about women. Just get your life in order. And once you do that, the woman will come to you. And I'm like, what, is there like an app? Like, as chicks, is there like an app you download and you get like, oh, this guy has his life in order 2 miles away from you. Go suck his dick. Like, how does that work? Like, you don't automatically, like, you still have to go out and talk to girls and meet girls. You can't just like get your life in order, as big as that sounds, and the chicks just come to you. So I feel like that's a big fantasy that's going on in like the manospheres, or like not like the red pill community. It's just like, you know, once you get your life in order, which I don't even know what the fuck that means. You know, chicks come to you.
I mean, I know a lot of like computer programmers that, you know, make a lot of money and are in pretty decent, you know, good enough shape, right? But they're not pulling chicks left and right. Like, you have to know how to talk to girls. But they just make it seem like as long as you like are in that 6-figure range, like the girls will start to chase you.
Yeah, no, not true. I know guys who are in the 7-fingers. They have 7 fingers.
Yeah.
7-figure range, and they're struggling. They can't get girls. I mean, the only thing that could be an exception is fame. I find that if you are famous, you'll probably get it most of the time, unless you're like really terrible. But that's not practical for 99% of guys. Like 99% of guys are not going to have fame. So yeah, I mean that's like I think also a huge misconception. I find that the red pill community significantly overblows how how important it is to get your life together, and the PUA community significantly undervalues it. So Theater community is all about game, focus on game. That's all that matters. Red pill community is all about get your life together, and like the truth, I think, in my opinion, is like somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. I don't hate red pill. Like I like a lot of their self-improvement stuff. I don't think it's like bad advice for men. I just think a lot of those guys don't actually have like, game because I consider myself like a pretty average girl, and I'm like, shouldn't I want to sleep with you? Like if you're that good at like talking to girls.
Wait, so you're saying that when you watch a video of Myron arguing with a girl for 2 hours, you do not get turned on? How's that possible?
No.
Every girl,
well, and I'm gonna be honest, like
debate.
Myron, like, should be my type. Like, he's tall. Like I usually go for like tall black guys. If I'm being honest, and like
you're pretty tall yourself. You're like 6 feet, right?
Yeah, and okay. So you would think, but no, I don't know what it is. It's like he has like a weird. I appreciate that he works hard, and I think like Fresh and Fit, like they're out streaming every night. I just think they're fake it till you make it type of guys. And at some point, maybe they'll have real dating advice. I just don't see the stuff they have for like pickup as being real, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I mean, I 100% agree, and I've always given them props for their work ethic. I mean, they work harder than me. That's fact. That's use their terminology, facts. I consider myself pretty hardworking too. But like, I don't know, I could not imagine doing 2 live streams every night. Like, I would, my voice would go out by the first one. So props to them for that, and kudos. But yeah, in terms of their dating advice, like, there's also a lot of hypocrisy that they say. For example, this is a big one. They talk about how like, you don't want a girl who has who's been around, oh, why would you buy a used car when you get a new one for the same amount? Like, like there's a lot of shame for girls for, being sexually promiscuous, right? But at the same time, they want a girl who fucks them on the first date. So it's like, you can either have the girl who's DTF or you can have the girl who's very conservative. But like, what is she like? She's been conservative all her life, and then she sees your fucking, studio, breaks all her rules, and then she decides to fuck you. Like, so there's a lot of hypocrisy.
I made a video on that. I said they want like virgins basically, but you reap what you sow. Like you attract what you are. So, like I have friends that are like waited till they were married to have sex. I'm gonna have one on my channel tomorrow actually, and they would never go for them because
no, zero chance.
And I'm not saying like they'd have to marry a virgin or whatever. I think she did, but they're not gonna go for guys that's gonna tell her to F off if she doesn't sleep with them on the first date.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you want that like super inexperienced conservative girl, you do need a high degree of patience, which is why me personally, I go for like the more DTF types because again, like, but I don't. To me, it's like I don't care if a girl, like whatever's around. But that's not like a big. I mean, I don't want a girl who's like a streetwalker or something like that. But like aside from like the extremes, like I don't care. But I never like talk about, oh yeah, you can't have a girl who's who's been sexually experienced or whatever. I don't give a shit about that. Another big thing is they talk about this one I think is like the biggest one. They talk about don't simp, don't buy girls OnlyFans, don't do that. You're just simping for her. And then what do? They create a Patreon where they basically have like porn on there, and the guys have to pay for it. So it's like, don't simp for the girls, simp for us.
Wait, what? They have a Patreon with girls on it, or is it with?
Yeah, exactly. So they have a Patreon now. It's something you pay for, and then they're basically getting like the porn stars they interview to do adult content for the Patreon. So basically, you're signing up for the Patreon to get porn, or low key porn.
Oh, I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that. I mean, I don't even think that's bad advice. Like, I wouldn't tell I don't know. When I hear a guy like pays for OnlyFans, that just seems very unattractive to me. So I don't think that's necessarily like bad advice. But sometimes red pill, they'll say like, don't buy, like if a girl asks to like, don't buy a girl anything. And I think a lot of girls are going to be like turned off by that.
But yeah, anyway, I can like shit on Fresh and Fish for a while, but let's kind of get back into what are some other bad pieces of advice that you see aside from the like the lack of focus on game. What are some other like bad pieces of advice? Like let's say you had a kid brother and he was like, Pearl, how do I get girls?
I mean, they say like this is more of like a values thing that's a little different. I think I'd disagree with like this probably would be different than PUAs too, but they say like sleep with 50 girls before you commit to one. So you don't like value each and every one of them. And just personally, like I would never tell my brother, like when you have sex with so many people, I just think it devalues it. But but I come from like kind of like a Catholic home, so it's a little different.
Mm. You and John Anthony have that in common. He was also like grew up like super Catholic,
Yeah.
but then he just went completely the other way.
Yeah.
He's also
But-
super tall. Maybe he would have been exactly like you if he was a girl.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to put it, but the thing is, I'm not like a lot of conservative people will be so disgusted by pickup, and I don't care. Like, who cares if you're not the one sleeping with them? It's more like interesting to me.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's good. I think it's like kind of, to me, it's kind of like, I don't know, like lame when people like try to shame other people for living different lifestyles. But so do you have any other, like, just off the top of your head, like bad piece of advice that you hear in either the red pill or the pickup community for guys specifically?
Well, I think a lot of times they don't take into account who the guy, and I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on this, because I think a lot of times, like, the type of guy or girl that a guy can get is going to be dependent on him. So, like, if you're an overweight guy that doesn't make that much money and you're holding out for like an 8, 9, or 10, I'm going to say, like, good luck. They'll be like, oh, I'll never date this, I'll never date that, I'll never date that. I'm like, look, if you're like a 3, you might have to. I'm sorry, but I don't know what you're expecting. But they act like any guy can just like become a high value man. And me, like, my dad is in that high value man category, and I know what that takes. And I know 90% of guys aren't going to want to do that.
If you don't mind me asking, what do you feel makes your dad like in that category? What makes him high value?
So it's like there's like 5 things, and when they went through it, my dad met all the requirements. So it's like the first thing is income. So my dad's probably, I have 9 siblings. My dad's probably in the top 0.5% of earners. I've never met anyone that makes more money than my dad. I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just saying, like, that's like how it is, right?
Are you one of the Buffett children?
No. Like income alone, and then on top of that, he's the CEO of a company, so you can't say he's not a leader. Like, this is like a 200-300 person company. So, and then there's like, I think the only part he might not fit is he doesn't have like a network of high value men, because he doesn't really like people, to be honest. Like, but he could if he wanted one. But I would say income's probably the main thing, and just like that leadership ability.
Aside from the income and the title, is there anything else specifically that makes you?
I wish I could remember what the 5 were. I can't remember off the top of my head. I just remember when they were going through them. They all fit what my dad was, minus the network.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I would define it a little bit differently than some people do. I mean, I do think that income and title is a part of it for sure. I'm not going to downplay that. But I think a lot of it is also your confidence in the way you carry yourself. Like, I've seen some rich people that are like way richer than me, but they're like pathetic. Like, their wives are like cheating on them because they they're all like confident in the office, but when they go home, they're like there's a lot of guys who are super confident in the office, but really like pathetic with women. You see that a lot. Like, these guys who are just used to like getting their way at work, but with girls, they're like, can I buy you a drink? Like, it's like super awkward. So,
my dad never really. Like, I don't know how he is with girls. Him and my mom have been married for almost 30 years now. So he didn't really, like, he met my mom when he was like 22. But no, I was really lucky to have like a really good example of what like love could be and like a good marriage could be, because I never had like a lot of fighting growing up. My friends were always the ones like saying how cool it was that my parents like got along and stuff. So I don't know. With that.
No, I mean, I think that is cool, and I think that will probably help you, like, with your own relationships. I mean, it's not like, if you have a bad upbringing, you still have good relationships, but you'll probably have to do more work on yourself, versus because of your upbringing, you probably won't really have to do much, like, you kind of probably already have. Like, I tell you, like, with me personally, I also had a pretty good childhood, but my parents fought a lot. My parents are separated now. So I was never, like, abused. I was never, like, mistreated or anything like that. My parents loved me in their own way, but, like, I did not have that like healthy relationship to look at, nor did my dad ever like teach me about women or anything that I teach. So I had to kind of go through a lot of like trial and error, and like in my early 20s, a lot of like self-loathing because I was just failing a lot and I was hating myself. So I mean, that's definitely a big advantage. I'm trying to think of some like bad dating advice from men that I see all the time.
Yeah, what would you say is the worst dating advice that you've seen? I'll say if I agree or I disagree, just from a girl's point of view.
So there's different, pieces of dating advice in different communities, but I'll just go like in general. One is you can't double text a girl. Don't double text ever. Double texting comes off needy, blah, blah, blah. You
Hmm.
should limit your double texting, but if it's been a few days, you can double text, you can triple text. Like it's all about how you do it. So, for example, like let's say you and I are texting, right? You don't
Hmm.
respond to my text. If I double text you in an hour, yeah, you're gonna think I'm needy. But if I wait 4 or 5 days and I re-engage, and with something that's not needy, that's a whole different story. So that's like a misconception. The other one is you should. I'm trying to think of some good ones. Like
I'd agree with the first one. I think like especially if you meet her off a dating app and she doesn't know you, like it's like you have to build interest before you can really demand that like quick response.
yeah, like John, I'm not a big believer in playing it too cool. I would say my style is a little bit more like laid back than him. Like I use a lot more takeaways and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Like mine is more push pull, his is more push. Just kind of, but we also have a lot of overlap. But yeah, I don't believe in playing it too cool. Like for example, I actually had a my first ever female coaching client yesterday, and she was telling me like, yeah, like I feel like after I hook up with a guy, I still wait for him to text me, and she was like, because I figure if a guy is interested, he'll text me. I was like, he would, except he's got a bunch of idiots telling him not to text you because you're gonna think he's needy. So it's like a misconnection because he's not texting you because he doesn't want to come off needy. You're doing the same thing, and then
Hmm.
everyone's like thinking that's the other person's fault. So it's just like a bad. So I'm not a big fan in like playing it too cool. I'm not a big believer in playing all these weird games. Like I'm a big proponent of like direct communication. So if there's something
Yeah.
I will say, I will say. Now, of course, it has to be within reason. Like
Hmm.
you can't like just be like outrageous, like you're at a bar and you get a boner and you don't know the girl. You can't be like, you know what, I really want to fuck you right now. Like, yeah, you can't do that. But like within reason, I am a big believer in direct communication. Like for example, it's a girl I'm seeing, she does something I don't like in the red pill community. Like, oh, you gotta like you gotta like disappear on her for a week and teach her a lesson, stuff like that. I'm like, no, I'm just gonna tell her how I feel. Like, hey,
Yeah.
you did this and I didn't like that for this reason, so please don't do it again. And that
Hmm.
solves the problem a lot better than playing some game with her and then she plays games with you. So that's like another big thing that I see that's very problematic.
Well, and I think that's very masculine. Like when a guy's direct with you, most women find that very attractive. I would say.
I think so too because I've never had like a bad reaction to doing that. Like this is kind of a little bit of an aside, but obviously every guy who's been in online dating has been catfished before. So a lot of my clients are like, yeah, I hate when I get catfished because I have to spend 2 hours with a girl. It's just such a waste of time. Like I don't do that. If a girl catfishes me, I give her a hug. I say, hey, it's nice to meet you, but I'm sorry, I'm just not feeling it, and I walk away. And I've never once had a bad reaction from doing that because usually girls respect the honesty and
Hmm. Well, and then you're not getting her hopes up. They might like. I don't even think that's being the bad guy if you're really not interested. You're not wasting your time.
yeah, like you can let her down in a nice way. Like I'll never be like, yeah,
Yeah.
you're fatter than your pictures. I'm not interested. I won't do that. It's just like unnecessary cruelty. But like, yeah, you can just give her a hug. Thank her for coming out. Say it was nice to meet you, but I'm sorry. I like, and that's it. And I've never had a bad reaction. Most of the time, the girl's like, oh, thank you for your honesty.
Hmm.
Well,
Um, what do you? Are there any red pill coaches that you don't hate? Like you think they have decent advice?
that's a good question. Well, it's not like a black and white. Like I hate them. Well, actually, I don't really hate any of them because I don't
Hmm.
know any of them personally. So it's more of just like I hate their advice. So to be specific,
Hmm.
um, trying to think who has like the better. Bulldog Mindset has some good stuff. John Somez.
Okay.
Um, AMS hit or miss. I think I agree with like maybe 40 or 50% of his stuff, but then I
Okay.
also hardcore disagree with like 50%. So it's very like hit or miss with him.
I said AMS too. Actually, that I thought some of his stuff was okay.
Yeah, he's definitely got some good pieces of advice, and you can tell with him that he's actually like a confident guy. Like he's
Hmm.
not full on faking it. Like he actually gets laid.
Yeah, that's actually the same. I would have said the same thing. I actually like Kevin Samuels for women. Do you like him or no?
I do like Kevin Samuels. Actually, I'm surprised I didn't say him because he would be like actually top of his list. I would agree with like more like 75%, 80% of what
Okay.
Kevin says. So it's even higher than AMS. I do like him. Um, I definitely think Kevin, gets it like when he's off camera. So I don't think he's faking it at all. I like the whole honesty thing. I like the whole starting a discussion thing. I think he's at like the forefront. Honestly, he's like the torch carrier for the red pill community, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I think I don't know why when someone talks, you can just tell. I can't describe how, but I can just tell if they're authentic and actually like have the knowledge behind what you're saying. And Kevin comes across as so knowledgeable. You can just tell he's done the work to really understand like what he says. Where Fresh and Fit, I think at some point they'll get there. I just don't think they're there yet.
I don't know. I think they're almost going in the opposite direction, to be honest.
Oh, yeah?
Because when they first started, they used to have Kevin on the lot, right? So that was like a thing. I thought that was cool. He would do like these guest appearances. There was some good discussions, but I feel like now they've been pretty anti-Kevin lately, from what I've seen and heard. So they're like, there's like a rift there, yeah. And like just like I don't know, I actually think they're almost going in like the wrong direction, in my opinion, or like neutral.
What did they say that's anti-Kevin Samuels? Because I haven't
So they haven't said anything publicly. It's apparently, and again, this is a little bit secondhand stuff, just because I'm pretty plugged into like the community, so I do hear a lot of things. But if someone mentions Kevin in the chat, they either tell him to stop or they kick him off. Like they haven't mentioned him at all. And apparently, I'm kind of venturing into like spreading rumors territory because I can't confirm this. So I'm just gonna preface what I'm about to say by saying this is only something I heard. I can't confirm this, but apparently like offline they're like talking a lot of shit about Kevin.
Oh, really? Huh. Because I almost felt like at first they were just taking his content and saying it in different words.
But no, I definitely think that like Kevin, like what I respect about Kevin is when he has like these debates with girls, he's very like calm, cool, and collected, which is kind of like my style. He's very like calm and cool. He's like, "Excuse me, ma'am," versus like Fresh and Fit. They're like, "See, you woman get so emotional." He's like getting like worked up himself.
What I like about him is I think for women's dating advice is so bad, like terrible. There's so much bad girls dating advice that when I think I lost him. I don't know what to do now. Oh, I guess his computer died, guys. I'm on here alone. No. Okay. They basically called out people who say Kevin would do a better job debating girls and told the mods to ban those people. Yeah, I can read the comments, guys. Just give us general dating advice. Oh my gosh. I don't even know. I don't even give dating advice on my channel. Like, watch. If I was going to give guy dating advice, I would say know your league and know your lane. Myron asks the mods to ban anyone for asking Kevin Samuels to call into the show. What's the best way for a guy to approach me? I would say like asking a girl like a question is a good way. Just to see if like she reciprocates. That's kind of an easier way to do it. But honestly, like if a guy just directly came up to me and said he thought I was cute and asked me out, I think that's like a fine way to do it. The only problem is that I think guys are kind of afraid to do that because of the Me Too type stuff. Approaching in a club. Oh gosh. A club? Oh, I don't go to clubs. Just let the guys know he'll be right back. Okay. What's the funniest line, that pickup line you've heard from a guy coming up to me? Let me think. It's the funniest line. Gosh, I just got out of a relationship, so I haven't been on like the dating market for like almost a year now. I'm trying to think back. Oh my gosh, I don't even remember. I agree. A 6'2" guy with an average face and a dad bod would slay more than a 5'8" guy with the good facial features and a 4-pack. I 100% agree with that. Height over everything. It's sad. It's just true. What social events and groups are best for meeting and getting to know? This is actually interesting because I'll probably answer some of these questions on my channel. What type of girls? If it's just to get laid, I would say like bars, clubs. If you want to meet like girls that are a little bit like less slutty, I would say maybe certain churches. Some churches, it doesn't even matter, but I would say like churches, I don't know, like events, like day events. What's the first thing you notice when a guy approaches me? Height, honestly. Nina Unrated said that Myron used to be an ICE agent. I'm going to be honest. I wouldn't trust Nina Unrated. She doesn't come off as overly trustworthy. Why is height such a determination? I don't think most girls care like a crazy amount about height. I think the guy just has to be taller than them. So the average girl's 5'5". So I'm 6 foot. I probably would date down to maybe like 5'10". But the average girl's 5'5". So even if you're 5'8", like you can still date 5 foot to 5'5" girls, and they'll probably be fine. How long does a conversation have to last to know that you like and trust the guy? It would have to be more than a conversation. I'd have to get to know someone for at least a couple weeks. Is height better than income, since a tall guy has a chance to become rich, where a short guy can never be tall? I heard a study that a guy that's 5'8" has to make $300,000 more to may have the same options as a guy that's 6 foot.
I'm back. My apologies.
No, you're fine. I was just answering questions in the chat.
Do we have any good ones?
Yeah, this is interesting because I don't know why. Like, I've heard so many red pill coaches say don't take dating advice from women, but there were so many questions from me in the chat, so I was actually surprised.
Yeah, that's a piece of advice I've always fought back against. So I think there's an element of truth. If a woman is not self-aware, then yeah, she might give you bad advice because she might be like, yeah, I just want a guy who's nice. But if you have a woman who has a high level of self-awareness, there's absolutely nothing wrong with taking advice from her. In fact, it's probably going to be better than 99% of the guy coaches, because as long as the woman is self-aware.
Yeah. I think we were talking about bad female dating advice before you cut off.
Yep.
So what I was going to say was that what I liked about Kevin Samuels is that literally, like, as a girl, it's so confusing with dating advice. Like, there's so much bad dating advice. And with Kevin Samuels, at least he gives it to you honest. Like, for example, one thing that he said is you can lose weight in order to have more options. And I know that's like, you'd think that's easy advice. Like, everyone knows that. But it's like not really, because they'll say like, oh, guys like curves, guys like this, guys like that. And some do, but I don't think that's necessary. That's more the exception rather than the rule. Would you agree with that or disagree?
No, 100% agree with that. Like if as a girl, just by making yourself more attractive, you will significantly increase your dating options. You can have the best personality in the world, but if you're not physically attractive, that guy won't look at you in the first place, and thus the whole thing won't begin. Like when I'm on Tinder, I'm making binary decisions: right swipe, left swipe. I don't know the girl's personality at all, and it's like I think there's like a lot of delusion. Like, oh well, if he doesn't like you based on your looks, then he's not the right guy for you anyway. He doesn't know you because he hasn't been, again, it's like we are wired to, be attracted to certain things, and you can play those, like, yeah, you can live in this idealistic world where looks don't matter, see how far that gets you, or you can live in the real world. So I do very much like that Kevin, like, takes a lot of women who've been, like, living in this fairyland where, your looks don't matter, and, you can get any guy you want while you're, like, like, old and, kind of decrepit.
Yeah.
And, like, he's keeping it real, which I think is very good.
Yeah, and he also makes the case for marrying younger for women, which I'm glad I heard, like, while I'm not, that old, like I'm only 24, because I didn't realize, I don't know, you're just kind of on a time crunch as a girl, and I think it's not overly wise to wait till you're, say, 30 to get married, because then you're in a state of being, like, rushed,
I think with that, it depends on the girl. So, for example, if you're a girl, different women have different priorities. So some girls, for example, they want to hit certain career goals before they start a family. So it probably makes sense to hit those goals before you start the family, because you're not going to be able to, like, move up in ranks while you're having a bunch of kids. It's not practical. But like if you're a woman who doesn't, who's like, where she wants to be career-wise at 22, then yeah, I guess it does make sense if you find a guy that's good. I think also the promise, though, some women feel like there's like too much of a rush. They're like, fuck, I'm running out of time. Meanwhile, she's got like 15 years, like, I don't know.
You really only have till you're 35 to get married. Would you disagree with that?
I mean, you hit menopause at 45. You probably, I would say till 40.
Because even my mom had my youngest sister at 38, and that was a high-risk pregnancy.
Yeah, it gets higher risk, like, as you get older. Yeah. Maybe 35.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. But I also don't think, like, I think for most women, like, one thing I disagree with some of the advice the Red Pillars and Kevin Samuels say is, like, for women, the goal is to, like, find a high-value guy and marry him and lock him down. But I think that's probably good advice for most women. But I know some women who actually don't ever want to get married. Like, they just want to just be independent, like, and do their thing. So I don't know if that's, like, the best advice for anyone, for every woman.
I think that women are unhappy if they, after the age of 45, like, women's happiness decreases significantly, like, compared to men. So especially, and like the most depressed, like, ranking in the lowest in happiness is single and childless women over the age of 45, because that's when, like, their looks start to go. And I think a lot of girls don't understand, I don't know, just the way the world treats you because you're a girl. Like, I didn't notice it until, like, men started pointing it out.
Like, can you give a more specific example of that?
Okay, so I worked in, like, copier sales before this. And the guys at the company would always say to me that, like, I would get extra help and all this stuff because I was a girl. And I was kind of annoyed because they were all, like, pretty, like, good looking guys objectively. And I feel like, no, like, it's not because of that. But then, I don't know, the longer I was there, the more I kind of saw it, that because, like, the higher ups are attracted to you, like, you're willing to do, like, people are nicer to you when they're attracted to you.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
And most guys, I think. Sorry, you cut off for a second.
I was going to say, this one girl that I hooked up with, she told me a crazy story. She was like 21, and she was like the office manager for this, like, big office. I was like, you did that at 21? That's fucking crazy. She's like, yeah. So, and then she told me the story of what happened. So apparently the owner of the company wanted to fuck her really bad, and she basically, like, traded sex for, like, the position. And she said, like, all her coworkers hated her because they've been there for like 10 years and they wanted that position, and she got it just for being, like, hot and stuff. And then the story gets pretty funny because she said, like, once he had sex with me, he got addicted because his wife was, like, old. So he only wanted to fuck me, and I was able to, like, use that to my advantage. So, like, it got to the point where I would, like, kind of fuck with him a little bit. I'd be like, you don't even get to come inside of me. You have to come, like, in a cup. So she would make him, like, jerk off. Like, it was just so funny. Like, she was just hardcore troll.
Oh my gosh.
Old, desperate guy. Yeah. Anyway, so that's a whole different aside. But yeah, I think there is a lot of bad dating advice for women. Like one is that like you have to play all these games. Like you have to like pretend like you're not interested. You have to pretend to be hard to get. I think
Yes.
it's such bad advice. Oh my god, so bad.
Oh my god. Yeah. No, I was thinking about it, and I think there was definitely like guys that I probably could have, like shown I was more interested in the past, but because I didn't want to like seem too desperate or anything, I was like, no, don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, you have like this the chick who I did a podcast with, Asinelli. Like some of the advice she gives is like really terrible. Like again, like all these games and stuff, and like how's that working for you? Like like no guy likes a woman who plays games. Like why would you think that? Oh, maybe if I play more games, then I'll get the guy. No, you'll get less guys. So
Do you think women like games?
I think a subsect of women like games, but those are not the emotionally healthy type of women. So, um, if you want to get those, then you do have to play games. But I would say that you don't want anything long term with those women anyway.
Yeah, I would say a lot of the girls giving that advice, they like games, so they tell girls how to do it because like they like it when guys play games with them.
Yeah, I almost see it as like a power dynamic. Like they want power. Like that's what they enjoy the most. They want to have power over these guys. The problem with that is once a guy's like really interested in you, then you feel like you lose attraction because you're like, oh, I have all the power now. Unless the game is over, you won, and then you're wired to move on to the next guy. Unless you can't form healthy relationships, as I think is a big issue with. What would you say are some other bad pieces of advice for women?
Um, that you don't. A lot of girls. Okay, actually, the worst piece of advice is that you just have one person out there like waiting for you.
Yeah,
I think that's the worst piece of advice because it makes girls think they don't have to work like to get a husband.
yeah,
You can get sex easily. Like you can
yeah.
easily get sex as a girl. Like it doesn't matter what you look like. But uh,
Oh, we lost Pearl for a second. Let's give her like a minute. See if we come back. Get her back. See if she's message her. Oh yeah, we lost Pearl. Let me message her. I think she probably just got disconnected. I'll take some questions while we wait. Uh, You know what, guys? Let's do this. There's a discussion going on in the comments, which is fine. I want you guys to have a discussion, but if you actually have a question that you want me to answer, I want you guys to do like 2 asterisks or 3 asterisks next to your comment. This way, it makes it a lot easier because there's a lot of comments, and it's going to take me forever to just skim through each one to get to the question. So put some asterisks in there. Um, Why would anyone want to raise kids in this world? It costs time and money. You can instead focus on career and having fun with your free time. Yeah, it just depends on the person. Some people really like the idea of having kids. Some people don't. It really comes down to who you are and what you want. It's loading. If we're going to play real, when girls don't play hard to get, it gets boring. Not for me. I actually really don't like it when girls play. What's up, Pearl? Well, you've changed somehow. Are you on your phone now?
Yeah, I just went on my phone because I think our Wi-Fi is being weird.
Oh, okay. Someone made this comment. If we're going to be real, when you girls don't play hard to get, it gets pretty boring. Not for me. I really don't like it when girls play hard to get, and I know a bunch of other guys who don't like it. It's a major turnoff to me, and for me, it does not get boring. For me, one of the biggest turn-ons is when a girl is very, like, just down, very attracted to me, very easygoing, very interested. I don't like it when girls play hard to get. I don't like games. So, yeah, it just depends on the person.
Well, I think in the short term, maybe that could work. But, I mean, I think most women prefer, like, long-term relationships. Um, so, if that's what you're looking for, like, what happens when you stop? Because at some point, like, it's got to stop if you want to get married.
Yeah, I'm just a big believer in building things on like a solid, honest, transparent foundation. And I just think that if you, I don't know, if you get off to this like bullshit putting on a front type of foundation on games, it's like a rocky start, and then the house of cards is going to crumble. So the stronger the foundation is, the more likely you are to have a good relationship.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that.
But we were talking about bad advices for women. I think you were telling me about one.
Oh, actually, one of the worst pieces of dating advice is in the church when they tell girls that God's gonna like send you a husband. Like, no, he's not. If you make the choice to get pregnant out of wedlock or gain 100 pounds, like that's a choice you made. That has nothing to do with God. And I'm religious. I believe in God, but those are choices.
God is like sitting up in heaven playing matchmaker. He's like, she strikes me as the kind of girl that's going to enjoy a big penis. I'll give her big dick Johnny.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Yeah.
And I actually, like, when I was younger, I believed that stuff. Like, I genuinely believed like everyone had like a person waiting for them. And I think that's like a nice story. But if you want to get married, like, guys have a lot of risk when they get married nowadays. You have to like earn that ring, because especially now it's harder than ever to get married.
Sure. And yeah, and like as a guy, we like it when a woman like wants to, like, to me it's a big turnoff when a woman feels entitled to anything, entitled to my time, entitled to my money, entitled to my my affection, like. And I think that's the problem. Like a lot of women, they're taught like, yeah, you're a princess. You just like you inherited, like, just by being born and being who you are, you're entitled to all this. And like, no, you're not. Like, I'm sorry, but that's like a problem.
No, I think there's a lot of entitled women, especially like girls that have been really attractive from a young age.
Mm-hmm.
Because they didn't really have to develop like their people skills as much, because they were just treated a different way because of the way they look. And I'm sure there's guys like that too. It's just, it is what it is.
With guys, maybe if they're famous, but I think less so than women. But I think the problem is a lot of guys are also like perpetuating the cycle, because if you're an attractive girl with an Instagram, hundreds of guys are messaging you every day telling you how gorgeous you are, how perfect you are. And I've seen some of these messages, and it's not just like, you're very pretty. It's like, oh my God, you're the most gorgeous woman on this planet. Where have you been? You're so perfect. I want to marry you. And do, like, calm the fuck down. Like, yeah, if you're reading hundreds of messages like that, unless you have a very high level of self-awareness, you are going to think that your shit don't stink, so as to speak.
Yeah. It's another observation I had about like the dating dynamics is I think the girls that are the most unhappy in dating tend to be like 5s and 6s, because they're hooking up with the 9s but can't get commitment from them. Would you say that's true or untrue? Or true or false?
In theory, it makes sense. I honestly don't have enough information to make a definitive statement, just because I'm not friends with any like 5s and 6s, so I don't really know like their struggles. But it's, in theory, it makes sense, because a guy, like, I will tell you myself, I've hooked up with 5s and 6s, in the past. But yeah, I would not want to date one of them, so it makes sense. And,
I've just noticed that the girls, every time I hear a girl like say men are trash, I started doing this where they say men are trash, men are the worst, whatever. I always rank them, and they're never an 8, 9, or 10. I do the Kevin Samuels scale where there's no such thing as a 7.
In what sense?
Because everyone thinks they're a 7. Like if you ask people, they all think they're a 7. So
that's true. I think I'm a 7, so I can see that.
So you have to like the way I rank, I kind of have a weird ranking system for like men and women.
Yeah, okay, let's hear it.
So for like, it all starts with your face, and no like fillers, no makeup, like it's just your bare face. So if you're an 8 or above, you have modeling contracts. Like you could get a modeling contract if you wanted one. You're in the top % of like looks. So that's like Kevin Samuels says Beyonce's an 8. Below that, like you're just like more in the average range, slightly below average or above average to slightly above average, just your face. So you have to pick one. Like you're either in the average looks or the above average looks. Totally fine, whatever you're in. And
this is for guys or for girls?
For both.
Okay.
So then with guys, you take their height. So let's say if a guy is a 6 in terms of like attractiveness, but he's in the top like 1% of height, so that's a 10. I divide it by 2. That's his rank. And then like it can go up or down based on like economic, game, like all this other stuff. But that's just like where his starting point is. Girls, it's like the same thing except with weight and BMI. So you take like if she has a 10, and you can maybe do like boobs or butt or whatever, but like honestly, girls today are so like they tend to be more overweight than they ever were. You're in Miami, so I bet the girls are probably more attractive there, but I'm from the Midwest. So yeah, that's like how I rank it.
I haven't seen a real boob in a decade. No, I mean, oh yeah, for sure. Miami, I do have like a distorted version of reality by living in Miami. Yeah, I mean, I think it differs. Like, I think there's some agreement. So, for example, there should not be a situation where one person thinks someone is a 4, another person thinks they're a 9. There should not be that much discrepancy.
Yeah.
But a little bit of discrepancy is to be like expected. Like, for example, me personally, I have a type. It's like shorter, curvy, like not curvy, like as in fat. Like I like girls who are like, very fit, but like, big tits, big ass. And that's like, what I've always been attracted to. I've always been attracted to like that porn star look. So when I meet a girl who's like a traditional model, like, like cosmopolitan, I don't really find that I can appreciate her beauty, but I don't have that sexual interest in her. But then again, I would never rate that girl a 4. She would be like, a 6.5 or something, or 7, versus for other guys, she would be a 9.
No, I agree with you. I think like compatibility and type can bring someone up maybe 1 or down, maybe 1 or 2. Everyone's got a type.
Yeah.
So I agree with you.
What would you, no bullshit, what would you rate me?
How tall are you?
5'11".
Okay.
It says 6 feet on my Tinder though.
Okay, 6. All right, we'll do 6 then. What's your, how much money do you make?
we do pretty good. Like, I don't know, I would say
like over 6.
Yeah, over 6 figures.
So I'd give your face probably a 6. I'd give your height probably like 5'11". I think that still puts you in the top like 20% of height. So I'd give your height like a 7 or an 8, but there's no 7, so probably an 8. Add that by 2, you get 7, but then you have your money and you have a good like tonality of your voice. So I'd probably give you an 8. But like I think guys can get, if you're an 8, you can get up to 10. So I think they can get 2 like levels.
Oh, that's a good point. I've always taught that. So that's a good point, and I appreciate the ranking. I personally always consider myself like at about a 7, at least in Miami, because in Miami everyone here is very good looking. So maybe if I go to like the Midwest, then it goes up by like half a point to a point. But yeah, I do think if you're like a 5 and you haven't done any work on yourself, you can go up to a 7. You'll never go up to a 10, but you can go up to a 7. So you can increase it by 2 points again through like fitness, through just grooming, losing, like just as a guy, if you get to like, if you're a little bit overweight and you get to low body fat, your face starts to look a lot better.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing that red pill doesn't tell you. Like they act like a 3 can go, to
a 10. Yeah. Just by getting your shit in order.
Yeah, and just like Kevin, and like even with girls, I'd say the same thing. Like you can become super feminine, you can become like present yourself and carry yourself in a way to have options. But like personally, I don't think I'd ever qualify for like a high value man. I'm like cool with that, but like at least I'm not wasting my time and like super delusional about it.
So I do think that there are. So I agree with you that that's a general rule, but I think that like with every rule, especially this one, there are a fair share of exceptions. Because so many times, like around Miami, walking around, I'll see a guy who's like objectively like a 5, but he's with what I consider a 9. Right now, it's not the norm. Like it's not what normally happens, but it does happen fairly often.
Yeah, but it's probably because he has like good tonality, good money, good whatever. Does that make sense? And I think. Like, how do I put it? Like the 9 that he has could actually be like personality wise, like a 7. Like, does that make sense? Because like you're just
no, it does make sense. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have seen like, just to take, for example, my ex, she was with a guy and like, I've seen pictures of this guy and like, I would objectively rate my ex like an 8, like a solid 8. She was like very attractive. And I would objectively rate her ex a 1. This is like the least attractive guy I've ever seen. Like, and that's not just because I have nothing against this guy. Like,
Yeah.
but he's just so ugly. Like, I would never want to put her business out there. But if I showed you guys a picture of this guy, you'd be like, who the fuck is this troll? Right? He's that bad. Sometimes when I'm at a party and I get drunk with my friends, I'm like, all right, guys, let's take a look at this guy one more time.
Is he overweight?
He's overweight.
Okay.
He's like, he looks like a troll. I don't know where his like style is from. He looks like he just like lives in like, I don't know, in the 50s. I don't know. Yeah, he's short. He's overweight. He looks like a giant dork. But he got her. But again, with him, it was like, so, and I know the story of how they got together. So for example, there was an element of luck because, you know, she's a pretty girl. So all her life she was dating like good looking guys. And then her last boyfriend before this guy, you know, unfortunately abused her. Like he actually beat her. Right. And so she was in a bad place. And so she was just friends with this, you know, troll looking guy. And when, you know, when that guy abused her, she didn't have anyone to talk to. So she talked to this guy and he was very sweet and he was there for her. And she was like, you know what, like maybe the whole really good looking guy thing doesn't work out for me because she had a bad experience. So then she went to the opposite end. Right. So, you know,
I think some girls get uglier guys so they don't get cheated on. I think like that's I think girls do that. I don't know any girls that were like beat, so I can't speak to that. But like I know girls that have been like cheated on, and so they'll go with a less good looking guy because they don't want to get cheated on.
But I would make the argument that even that less good looking guy can still cheat on you.
Yeah, but I think he has more like to lose. So if a guy's a 5 and he bags like the hottest girl he's ever had in his life, he's going to think twice because it's going to be harder for him to bag.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And plus the quality of girl he can get won't be as good as the girl he already has.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely true. All right, let's take some questions because we got a bunch building up.
Okay. I can't see them on my phone.
It's all good. I'll read them out. There's a lot of troll questions, so I have to skip those. Better have a bunch of kids with different women around the world instead of getting married. But then the kids kind of won't have a good upbringing. That's the only downside with that.
Yeah, how would you raise them?
Yeah, it would be like the woman raising the kids. Hannah, do you think there's a benefit for men in marriage? Oh, we lost Pearl. Let me let her know. Let's start off. Oh, there we go. We got her back.
Sorry, I clicked a button. That was my
fault. You're good. So the question is, do you think there's any benefit for men in marriage?
I think there's a benefit for men having a long-term partner, and I think it has to do more with like legacy. But do it financially? No, probably not.
I think that's a very good point. Yeah, I do think in terms of legacy, and for a lot of guys, it's very important. And I would say for me, it's not as important as it is for most guys. But your values change as you like age. Like just because you feel something at the age of 30, you might not feel that way when you're 40. You know? Like I've definitely come a long way since I was like 21, and like I'm 31 now. So yeah, I think if you are going to get a marriage, though, you have to do it the right way. You have to be careful. I would, if you're a guy who has money, I would definitely get a prenup. And I think, like, as a woman, like, let's say you are marrying, like, let me ask you this question. Let's say you marry a rich guy, right? Like a guy who's financially successful. Would you be offended if he asked you for a prenup?
I have a trust fund, so I actually want a prenup.
Oh, okay. But let's say that wasn't the case. Let's pretend like you didn't have that.
No, I wouldn't care.
Yeah, I think like if a girl cares, then maybe she's not the right girl. Because I think a girl should be able to understand that, at least after you explain it to her.
I'd say another benefit is I think it saves guys time if they have a girl like cooking and cleaning and doing all that stuff for them. But I'm assuming you could probably get that from a girlfriend too. But my dad, like having like someone he could come home to that like did everything and he didn't have to worry about like the kids or any of that stuff was, I would say, a benefit to him.
Yeah, I mean, this is an argument I hear on Fresh and Fit that like, I want a girl who cooks and cleans. I'm not opposed to having a girl who cooks and cleans, like the girl who I've been like kind of my girl now. She does a lot for me, but I would say that cooking and cleaning are very easily outsourced. Like a cleaning lady, I pay $100
Yeah.
a week, and cooking, I have a meal plan, right? So
Yeah.
it's much harder for me to outsource things like her giving me a nice massage, before I go
Yeah.
to sleep. So those are just such like bottom of the wrong thing. So it's like if a chick can't cook or clean, like I don't. That's not a deal breaker for me. I don't give a shit. Like I have big like why don't I just fucking date my cleaning lady then instead of paying her 100 a week? You know what I mean? Like it's such a that to me there's a lot more that the girl has to contribute than just cooking and cleaning.
No, I agree. I'm just thinking like with my parents' marriage, like that was something my mom did, and then she also worked for my dad. So like she was in charge of like I could just think of ways outside of the kids that she like helped make his life easier.
Yeah, no, it's definitely important when like a girl like makes the life of the guy easier. Like for example, I can tell you like my girl, like she does a lot of videos and live streams with me, which helps me so much more than her cooking, right?
Yeah.
So stuff like that, or like if I need to like do some errands that I can't do and like I can't send anyone else, like she'll help me out, or like researching something. So yeah, just to me it's always been like cooking and cleaning. Yeah, that's cool, but it's like such bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Like if the only thing my girlfriend does is cook and clean, that's like really like I can get someone to do that. Like I have much higher expectations. Someone said, Pearly, isn't Myron a master orator and makes amazing points, which might be uncomfortable to hear, but is the truth? I get why Alex hates him because his points go against his business. Well, sorry, the question's for you. So good.
I think Myron has some good stuff. I like his self-improvement stuff. I think the show is very entertaining. I just don't think they actually get girls. That's like my only is I don't think they are actually like getting girls like they say they do.
No, I severely doubt they are. So let me kind of take this question as well. Isn't Myron a master orator? He's a pretty good orator. I would not say he's a master orator by any stretch, but he's pretty good for sure. Definitely a lot better than Fresh. Does he make amazing points? No, he makes some good points and he makes some really bad points. I pointed out multiple hypocritical, logical fallacies that he's been caught in and stuff like that. So I don't think he makes amazing points. He just says everything is a fact. So he'll just say something that's an opinion and call it a fact.
Yeah.
That doesn't make it a fact.
That drives me crazy when they think they have like all the answers to everything.
Yeah. And it's just so intellectually disgenuine, like just say something is an opinion, call it a fact. And then instead of when you're having a debate, like, oh, you can't argue against that because that's a fact. No, dude, it's your opinion. Like, and it's based on your life experiences, which can be different than my life experiences. So he does a lot of that. Again, like his truth, is based on his experiences. It's not based on any like double-blind placebo studies. Very few of the stuff they say is actually based on hard science. It's basically like should they pulled out Rollo Tomasi's book, and Rollo Tomasi pulled it out his ass basically. So again, and he's not bad for my business. He doesn't really affect my business in any way. We're not really competitors directly. So I mean, they have an Instagram course, but no, I don't. My business is doing pretty good. So no, he's not. There's other pickup guys who I've actually had on my channel who are a lot worse for my business because they have competing products, but I'll still have them on and promote them. So no, I don't. That's not the reason. I wouldn't say I hate him. I just disagree with a good amount of things that he says. Like I have nothing personally against the guy. Pearl, let your girlfriends to tell the guys they're interested in to tell them they like those guys. Girls used to have crushes on me all the time in high school. I didn't know about it till later. Yeah, very true.
Yeah, I think most girls don't want to swallow their pride.
Yeah. Well, I think that's another, like, I think pride can actually be detrimental to your dating success as a guy and as a girl.
Yeah, well, that's how I met, like, my, I mean, we broke up now, but, like, my last boyfriend, I met him because, like, I messaged him first.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, I think there's a lot of power in that. The counter argument is like, oh, if you make the first move, then the guy feels demasculated. My counter argument to that is, if you're a guy who feels demasculated by that, then you're not really much of a man to begin with. Like, I very much like it when a girl is like bold. Like that's a big turn on for me. I appreciate that. So yeah, only like the most insecure kind of guy will get like demasculated by that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this was a question. Let's be honest. Just having a nice booty puts you in a nice spot in life as a girl. That's pretty true.
Yeah, no, that's true.
And it's kind of like not fair because as a girl, you're kind of like, I mean, I guess you could kind of like get like a fake ass, but like if you don't want to do that, it's kind of like a luck thing. Like you either have the genetics or you don't. But it's the
Yeah.
same thing as a guy. You're either tall or you're short, and there's like nothing you can do about it.
Although natural big butts don't even look big anymore because of like all the shit girls have done.
Yeah.
Because I'm not even like when I was growing up, I had like the biggest butt of all my friends, and now like these girls are like ginormous with the fake stuff they get.
Well, it's like the same thing with like bodybuilding. Like, if you're a guy who doesn't take any like enhancement drugs, you're not even going to come close to the guys who are doing like the all the pills. You don't even have a chance, And
Yeah.
like, I think what a lot of people don't realize is like their favorite fitness influencer is taking more drugs than like crackhead. They're on like every type of thing known to man: insulin, HGH, TRT. And again, I personally take some stuff. I don't take all that shit, but I'm very upfront about it. Nor am I trying to compete in fitness competitions. But so there's a lot of that. So guys are like, oh, I want to look like him. Well, you'll never look like him unless you take a bunch of drugs. So, is there anyone you would like to train under or do boot camp with yourself?
Well, I wanted to. I think I'm going to one of John Anthony's boot camps.
Yeah, you told me about that.
Yeah, but that wouldn't really be for me because, like, I don't think it's gonna help me knowing how to sleep with girls. But that's more for entertainment. Probably Kevin Samuels is who I would like train under. Partially because he's doing probably the closest thing to like what I'd like to do, and then second because I think he gives the best dating advice to girls that I've really seen.
Why do you think he gets so much pushback? Again, with some girls, like why does some chicks really go after him that much?
Because he's talking to them. That's why they're offended. Like some stuff that he says makes me like, like when he'll say, like get you a 22-year-old. I'm like, I'm 24, but whatever.
It's all over for me. I'm too old. God damn it, Pearl, you waited too long.
Yeah, I'm like, or like he'll say, what else did he say? Or like, single moms, like if you're an 8, you're automatically a 6 if you got a kid. I would argue you're automatically a 5, to be honest. But that hurts if
it's an uncomfortable truth for sure. Because like, what is that single mom supposed to do? She's supposed to abandon her kid. Like, she has to raise the kid if she wants to be a decent human being. And even, at the same time,
even the weight thing though, that's the most annoying one because you can change that. Like guys can't change their height. Girls can at least change their weight.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I feel really bad for guys who are like 5'2", 5'3". Like, I'm sorry, like you got really dealt a bad hand, and it's gonna, like I think 5'6", 5'7", you can still do really well. But I think once you get below like 5'4", you're gonna be, not to say you can't get laid, you can and you will, but you're gonna be very limited.
Yeah.
How would you reply if you say to a girl that's working out, "Oh, doing some squats for me," and then she replies, "Nope, for me."
Wait, doing some, and I don't get it.
Let's do a more broad question. How do you recommend guys approach a girl at the gym? Like as a girl, what kind of approach would you respond to the best when you're doing squats?
Oh, when I'm doing squats, okay.
Or just anything in general.
I think when guys like ask a question or something to like see if she's interested, or just even say like, "Hi, how are you?" and see if she responds. And then if she's like talking to you and responding to you, asking for her number and like being on your way. Because I think like if a guy talks to me, I'm like afraid he's gonna like be there too long.
Yeah.
So I think when a guy maybe has like an opener, and then like I like John Anthony's like, "Hi, can I meet you?" really quick, because it's like this is what we're doing and I'm about to leave after. I think that getting her number and then going is probably like the best way to do it.
I think there's a lot of power in a false time constraint. Like, hey, I have a minute between my sets. I want to meet you real quick, right? Like, oh, okay, he's going to go back within like a minute. So I think there's a lot of power in doing that. Like, that's why I like his, "Hey, can I meet you real quick?" Or if I'm trying to get a girl on the phone, like, "Hey, let's chat on the phone for a minute or two," right? Because as a girl, if a guy wants to talk on the phone, your biggest concern is it's going to be a 2-hour awkward phone call with a guy you don't really like. But if he says a minute or two, it's like, okay, well, how bad can it be?
Yeah. Well, and as a girl, I don't think we're very good at like being confrontational.
Yeah.
If I'm on the phone with a guy, it's gonna end when he wants it to. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm too,
Like 10 hours later, you're like, yeah, it's been kind of late.
yeah. So I don't. I think I'm more confrontational than most females. So I think like I think a lot of girls feel that way.
Yeah, I actually, to me, if a girl is too confrontational, it's a big turnoff. Like, I don't like the super like like ghetto confrontational tricks. Like, that's a major turnoff. So I think as a girl, you don't even want to be like too confrontational.
Yeah. Well, like say it's masculine energy.
Yeah, exactly. Do you? I guess I don't know if this question is for me or you. I speak Russian. Do you speak Russian?
No.
Yeah, I'm not. Alex, how many lines do you send a girl online before asking her out? I usually send 3 or 4 lines. Probably more than that, but it just depends on the vibe, what I'm getting from the girl. But there's probably a little bit more back and forth before asking her out. What do you think is the ideal approach? Let's say you match with a guy on Tinder. How much, small talk should he do before like saying, "Hey, let's get together"?
I personally don't like a lot of small talk. Like I like it to be like quick.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Personally, like I don't want to talk to a guy for more than a couple days. I'd rather just like get to the date.
Yeah.
Or a phone call. I think a phone call is a good move for guys because if you call a girl, it shows like confidence, and then I feel more comfortable actually meeting you if we get. Would you agree with that or no?
Yeah, I do. If I can get a girl on the phone, it's pretty much a done deal. I think the problem is a lot of girls, especially like in your age range, they don't even know you can use a phone to call. So like a lot of like the younger generation, like they're so used to texting that they feel uncomfortable talking on the phone.
Yeah, no, I haven't been on dating apps in a while, but when I was, I would always make guys like call me before I met them because I don't get to like a full hangout if we didn't have anything in common.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, if a girl wants to talk on the phone, like, I'm always down to accommodate that because I'm like, oh, this is great. I can, like, like, build a good impression. Yeah. But again, I used to work in phone sales, so nothing can be harder than that.
What about giving women's dating advice? I've seen a lot of people like blow up from like switching from men's to women.
It's funny that you asked this question because I'm at a point where I'm so weird that I actually have dreams about video ideas. So I wake up in the morning or I wake up at like 6 a.m. and I'm like, oh, I gotta write this down. Then I go back to sleep. So actually last night I woke up with a video idea for a girl's channel, which I'm gonna actually shoot later tonight.
Yeah, like Matthew Hussey, he's a girls dating coach, and that's what
he I kind of hate that guy, but yeah, he's very popular.
His stuff isn't. I don't like, but
he gives such bullshit advice. I'm just like, you're just literally I hate anyone who panders to their audience. So he's just like telling women what they want to hear.
Yeah.
He's like basically the opposite of Kevin Samuels.
Yeah, yeah, he is. I used to listen to him a couple of years ago, actually. It didn't work.
Yeah. Alex, how often do you drink kava? Where do you buy from and how much do you drink? I just drink it in the evenings, 1 or 2 bottles. I buy it from my local kava shop. Nothing too crazy. You can buy it online too. Quickkava.com is a good website. Okay, same question. A lot of people are just like repeating that. Okay, this is an interesting question. How do you not sell but not be too picky at the same time? What are your thoughts on
that? Know your league. And I think the best way you can figure that out is one, getting data. Like there's websites that'll kind of rank your pictures and stuff, and finding honest females that'll actually tell you. I think that's probably the harder part.
Yeah. Alex, word in the street is that Paul Janko was going to be on the podcast. Is that still going to happen? I don't think so. We were in talks, but then he just kept rescheduling. And then the last thing he said to me was like, oh, dude, like my wife really wants me to wait until like I do this. I'm like, your wife wants you to wait? Like what? Like, don't you make your own business decisions? So I kind of lost interest after that point. If he was like legitimately serious about coming on, I would have him on, but I'm not going to like, yeah, it's like when I'm trying to talk to a guest and they're like constantly rescheduling on me, like I just get no, like after a while, it's like, okay, like, I'm not going to like chase you. Someone keeps asking this question. What do you think about Myron's candy store analogy? Are you familiar with this?
Yeah.
What is this? Can you enlighten me?
So the candy store analogy is basically the candy is sex. So girls have access to sex around the ages of like maybe 16 and up. Like most girls can have sex, they get sexual attention. Men seem to get it later in life, so maybe like 30 to 35 is like what they say. So they think that like, why would a guy be faithful if he's waited all this time to get access to sex? And now
when can a guy get access, they say?
Sex. So the candy store is sex.
No, but what age does a guy get access to the candy store?
He said like 30 to 35, I think they said, is a guy's peak.
Yeah, one thing I disagree with that I hear a lot in the red pill community, they say, oh, guy doesn't hit his peak till late 30s, early 40s anyway. Only if the guy really takes care of himself. Most of the people I went to high school with hit their peak when they were 18. Like they just went downhill and I went uphill because I kept working on myself, right? So most of the time it's the other way. Most of the time the guy hits his peak at like 18, 19. That's when his hormones are the best. That's when he can eat anything and still look good. And when time he gets into like mid to late 20s, he starts going downhill because the same actions that worked for him when he was 18 don't work anymore. You see this a lot with frat guys who used to be like, get a lot of girls when they were in the frat. Now that they don't have that social boost, they don't know what to do. So only they never preface it by saying only like 10% of guys that will apply for it. Most guys will go downhill.
No, I agree with that. Like the men age like fine wine argument, I just have not really seen for the majority of men.
Not the majority, a small percentage for sure. Someone said, did you break up with Natty? No, I did not break up with Natty. Let's see what we got. Hey, Playing Fire, thoughts on dating black women? I wish I didn't click on this question. It's like so polarizing. My first girlfriend ever was half black, so I mean, I have no racist issue with that at all. I mean, I've personally been attracted to like Latinas. I have nothing against black women or anything like that. It's a weird question. I don't know how to answer that.
Actually, I have a question this reminded me of. Does it intimidate you if you date a girl and her ex, like by your standards, is like better than you? Like more money.
Repeat that. Does it disturb me if her ex is what?
Like better than you, like better looking, makes more money.
No, not at all. Because I consider myself, I have high self-esteem. I consider myself really awesome. So, for example, let's take my current girl. One of her exes was like really good looking. He was like way better looking than me. But I don't feel threatened by him at all because I'm like, well, yeah, but like I'm still more awesome in terms of my personality and stuff. So no, I think if you have high self-esteem, that shouldn't bother you at all. Because there's clearly a reason why he's an ex, like there's clearly something he was doing that she didn't like, which I'm not going to be doing. That's why we're together. So no, that never bothered me.
That's a big thing in red pill.
What do they say?
Well, the video I watched this morning was saying that if a white girl like dates black guys, like then white guys like won't like her anymore because like white guys see like black guys as like being like sexually better. I know it was really weird, but I'd never heard that in my life. But my ex was black, so that's why I was like, huh, that's like weird. But then I asked her, because the whole idea was like the whole concept was like white guys see the black guys as like having BBC. Sorry, I feel so weird saying that. But, so they're like intimidated by that, and I like called my brothers and I'm like, is this a thing? And they said no, but I was just curious because the whole idea was like thinking the ex is better than you. That's like basically what they're saying.
But it's not like the black guys, like while you're banging your girlfriend, the black guy standing there and saying, look at this, so much bigger than you, so much bigger. It's like in the past, like who gives a shit? Like, there's clearly a reason why he's an ex. I don't know. I used to be insecure when I was younger about anything and everything, but I kind of worked on my self-esteem, so that won't bother me at all. I don't care. He was black, white, Asian, doesn't matter. Like if he's still in her life and they're still talking, that's a different issue. But it's not insecurity, but it's an ex. I don't care. I'm not gonna like, oh, she's been with a black guy. My small white penis can't compare to that. That's a monster. Okay. After I get a girl's number on dating app and we move it to text, it normally just dies off. Like I go to the date, like I go for the date like in 1 or 2 days. And I don't think it's my text game, to be honest. What advice would you give to this guy?
I'd say move a little quicker. I think if you're texting her for 3 days, that's too long.
Yeah, I would say also there you might be right. I would say another thing is try to build investment. So the more invested you can make the girl, the less likely you are to get flaked on. So like let's say, for example, you and I like we're talking, right?
Mhm.
And let's say it's just a very basic conversation. Like you have nothing really to lose. It's like whatever, like we didn't really talk much. But let's say we had a phone call, we sent voice memos, you texted me a lot, you're gonna be much more hesitant to walk away from that. So my solution
Yeah.
is just to build more investment.
That's great advice. That's actually great advice. Investment is everything. Like,
Investment is huge. I actually think investment is like one of the biggest things when it comes to like game and
yeah,
dating and all that. Like just like for example, this is why I always say, if a girl wants you to like, hey, meet me at a bar near my place. I always say no to that for a variety of reasons. But one of the big reasons is that if you go to a bar near her place, her investment is very low. So anything and everything, she can be like, whatever. But let's say she went all the way towards you, her investment is a lot higher. So you have to do a lot more to fuck it up at that point.
hmm I've never thought about the car thing. I don't think I'd care as much about like driving. I just think like the more dates we've been on, the more I'm gonna like think about it.
It's not. It's yeah. I guess maybe I'm overblowing it. It's not like that significant, but it does play a little bit of a role.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I just wouldn't like think much of a car.
Yeah. He says guys need to make 100K per year, have slept with 50 women, and are in the gym years before having access to this. Like you have to make 100K a year before you get laid or before you get a girlfriend. I don't understand.
My brother is literally unemployed, makes, and he hooks up with girls all the time.
I mean, I used to be dead broke, live in the shittiest apartment in Los Angeles, and I used to get like plenty when I had games. So, I mean, it definitely helps. Like, I'm not going to knock any of this stuff. Definitely, try to make as much money as possible and work out, and have sexual experience. But I mean, I can just tell for myself. Like, just to kind of go back to my own life. Like, I didn't lose my virginity until I was 19. Didn't start getting laid consistently until I was like 22. But when I was like 22, 23, I kind of figured game out. And like between 22 and 26, 25, I was living on my own, but I was living in a complete shithole. I had no money. I was like dead broke, like massive amounts of debt. Like for me, like getting a cup of coffee was like an expensive date. And I was still getting laid a lot, like, a good amount, like more than 95% of guys. But at that point, I already knew game and stuff. I wasn't bad looking or anything, but, all the other stuff wasn't in order. So I think they overblow it out of proportion. Okay, let's see what else we got. Does having multiple dating apps mess up the online algorithm? I feel like I'm getting less matches since downloading Bumble and Hinge. I don't think so. I don't think the apps can like talk to each other and like, hey, Johnny just downloaded Bumble. Let's give him less matches. I think it's just a coincidence.
The one thing I've heard about the algorithm is if you swipe right too much, it actually hurts you.
There's an element of truth to that. Yeah. You don't want to be like right swiping on everything. It does look at your ratio of right swipes to left swipes.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if this is true, but I've heard that if a guy, like if you should swipe right on uglier girls to increase like your algorithm, and like if a girl's clearly out of your league, swipe left, because like that increases like where they put you in the algorithm, because the people swiping right are swiping right on you.
I couldn't disagree with that more. I think there's just a bunch of nerds who don't get matches talking to other nerds who don't get matches. The solution is really simple. Make your profile as good as possible. Swipe right on girls you find attractive. Swipe left on ones you don't, and don't use an auto swiper. It's really as simple as that. I don't think you need to like try to game the system by trying to match with ugly girls. I don't know.
I don't know.
That's like so like preposterous. Like what's next? Oh, you have to bang the fat girl in order to like get the attractive girl. Like, hey, Tinder, look at this. She's 300 pounds. I banged her. Now can I get access to the hot girls?
No, you might be right. That's just someone that's like really good with like the algorithm. He just seems smart, but you might be right.
I'm trying to right now get the head engineer of Tinder on the third podcast. If he agrees, I think that would be a good podcast because we can like dispel all these like urban myths. I want to get like one of like the higher ups at Tinder to come on. I think that could be interesting. I'm a 6, 38, have a good job, a purpose, driven life, and confident, but I'm also divorced and have a kid. What is my score? 4? Just curious.
What's a good job? How much money is that?
Let's say 100K.
100K. I'd say a kid. Do you think women care? Like, because a kid's a negative for me. Do you think most women care if you have a kid?
That's a good question. If you asked me this a year ago or 2 years ago, I would have said yes. But recently, one of my really good buddies who I used to do sales with, he got married pretty young. They had a kid, and a very sad story. The wife got like cancer and she passed away, so he was widowed. And he gave it like a year or two, and then he's like hit me up. He's like, hey man, like I'm ready to get back out there. Can you give me some advice? And I was like, yeah man, just as an FYI, the kid thing, I try to like soften as much as possible. And he hits me up a few months later. He's like, dude, the kid thing is killing it for me. Like I'm playing like the caring widowed angle, and it's working so well. And then he sent me like pictures of the girls he was hooking up with. I'm like shit, like these chicks are legit hot, So I think for some girls it might, but I think for some girls also might be like, wow, this man like cares. I just think it depends on the age range of the girl. It depends on her situation. I think it's way less of a detriment for a guy than it is for a girl.
Yeah. Okay, I would say a 6 would probably be like an 8 with a good job, a purpose, driven, and confident. And then like a kid, it'll just depend on the girl. Like it's either going to be like a minus or like probably just neutral, to be honest.
I would say I would have to see your face, because your face is going to be a huge factor in this. And how athletic you are.
Yeah.
The purpose-driven life, that's a small thing. To me, even having a good job thing is not as big as some people make it out to be. It depends on where you live, but like in a place where a lot of like upper middle class people, I don't think it's like that huge, unless it's like a super, super duper good job.
I don't really. I think that like I can tell so quick if a guy's driven or not. And it's like the biggest turn off to me if a guy is lazy. Like I cannot date a lazy guy.
Yeah. But then, like to counter that, you see a lot of guys who are like good looking but lazy, who like get laid like crazy, like like the Instagram models, the bodybuilders who just don't do shit. They just like sit around and like go to the gym. And I think like obviously women are all different, so there's different attraction triggers. It definitely is good to be purpose driven for sure. Overall, it's going to be a net positive. But I just don't think it matters as much as like your face does, for example.
Yeah. That's a little like black pill. So you're like, it all starts with the face.
Well, yeah, it's funny because I've talked to the black pill guys. I definitely would not consider myself black pill, but I do think there's elements of truth in some of the stuff they say. Like I do think that like women on average do want a pretty good looking guy, right? Like just like guys want a pretty good looking girl. So looks doesn't matter. I just think the black pill guys, one, significantly overblow how much it matters, and two, play victim and don't believe that you can level up by 2 points. Like all the black pill guys who I know, none of them are in good shape. None of them are jacked. So none of them have maximized their sexual market value, even though they say it's the only thing that matters. I also think game matters a lot. Like you can be a very good looking guy, but you have no game. You're going to fuck it up with most of the girls you talk to. So you need both, you want to maximize your SMV and game. You can't just focus on one or the other.
Yeah.
To me, it's almost like, I don't know, like let's say you're like, you're training and you only train like lower body, you only train upper body. Like you got to train both. Like you can't just like be like have the biggest legs ever and then your upper body and be like, look at me, I'm jacked. No, it's just like your legs are huge and vice versa.
No, I agree with you. That's actually the way I see it too, is I think that like there's some truth to red pill and like the self-improvement stuff, but I do agree with like black pill that like your face is kind of the starting spot and your height.
Yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, I do think that black pill, like they like to play victim a lot, unfortunately.
Well, I think a lot of them are like the 5'2" guys that like honestly can't move up that much. Like, because if a guy's 5'2", he can go to the gym, get his money up, but like if he's a 2, he's still going to be a 4. And if you're a 4, you're still below most women's thresholds.
Yeah, the shortness thing is one thing that's pretty tough. Even with the face, you can do like, if you're like deformed, you can do like facial surgery. Like height is really the only thing you can't really address.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think that my honest opinion is like something like 1 or 2% of men are just fucked. But like I think 98, 99% of guys can more or less make it if they put in enough work when it comes to dating. Like there's 1% of like the men who are born like really short and deformed. Like, yeah, I'm sorry, like you're fucked. And I think that the black pill really likes to use those examples, but that's not the majority of guys. Like most guys are between, like around 5'6", 5'7", average face, average body.
I mean, Stephen Hawking got married. He pulled a lot of girls.
And he even cheated on his wife.
Yeah.
How the fuck does Stephen Hawking cheat? Like, can someone answer me this question? Like, what does that entail? Like him dirty talking with his like fucking thing. I would do such dirty things if my penis still worked. Like, what does he do?
Well, that's like, fame, right? That's what you said. Like, fame is the like.
Fame is the great equalizer. Yeah, for sure. Fame is the biggest equalizer by far. Like Danny DeVito is objectively like a 1, but I think he could probably get more pussy than me if he wasn't married.
Yeah, he probably. Even O.J. Simpson gets girls. Like, what the hell?
How as a girl do you go back to O.J. Simpson's house? Like, do you not know that you have like a small probability of being murdered?
Yeah, well, there's like girls that wrote Ted Bundy like love letters and stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I don't want to say all girls, but there's like a percentage of girls that are attracted to like that. Like, I don't even know what it is, but
they're playing with fire. Boom. Yeah. Let's take like 1 or 2 more questions. Pearl, what's your honest opinion about dating Asians, and are they the least desirable in the West?
I mean, honestly, probably. But I mean, I've seen Asian guys that I would date. The problem is I think they're shorter. So I think that eliminates a lot of their options. Like, I've never dated an Asian guy because most Asian guys are shorter than me.
But to be fair, you are kind of an exception because you're 6 feet, so you're definitely like above, like like most women are not 6 feet.
No, it's definitely a disadvantage in dating for women being this tall.
It's I think on average, like being that tall. But I know there's some guys who really like that, who really like a tall girl.
No, there are guys that do. I would just say, I would date shorter than me, like by a couple inches. It's not my preference, but if I wanted a guy taller than me, it's more competitive. Because that's like I think 15% of guys are above 6 foot. So like altogether, if you have more requirements than just height, like it's just more competitive.
Yeah. No, I can see that. Yeah. Because like as a girl, you don't want to be like looking down at a guy. That's like a major turnoff.
Yeah, I mean it is. I think so. Like I have a friend that's 6'5", so some girls it's just like
Jesus Christ. What the fuck are they feeding you guys in the Midwest?
No, I was a college athlete, so that's a lot of.
Okay, gotcha. 6'5".
Yeah, she married a guy that was 6'7", so she did find.
Oh my god.
He was like very, very pretty. Like probably like I'd give her like an 8 or a 9 in face. So but I'm like, if you're born that tall and you don't have that pretty of a face, good luck.
Yeah, well, I mean, like Donald Trump's like barren. He's like apparently like 6'7" at like the age of 15 or something.
Damn.
He's gonna be he's gonna be like 7 feet when he hits like 18, probably. That's a tall ass motherfucker. Crazy. Plus, he's got that last name. Shit. Yeah. Where did you learn game, Alex? Did you start with Neil Strauss's The Game first? Yeah, that and Simple Pickup, and then a lot of it was Friends, RSD, just a lot of just looking around, a lot of trial and error, stuff like that. I'll take like one last good question. This is an interesting question. It's not a question, but statement. Cloud maxing is probably the hardest way to do game. Yes, it definitely is. It's also probably the most effective, in my opinion, in a way.
Cloud, what does that mean?
Like becoming more famous or whatever, building your status.
Okay. The hardest way to game. It is the most effective.
It takes time though. It ain't easy. Like even like just like take me for example, playing with fire. I've been at it for 3 years, and like I still have like such a long way to go. Yeah. So if I want to really like ride my cloud, in order to get girls.
Well, and the problem is girls probably don't watch your content.
You'd be surprised. I actually had my first ever date with a female fan a few weeks ago.
What percentage of your audience is female?
20%.
Really? That high?
Yeah.
Mine's it's funny because I wanted to talk to females, like literally, but I have a 4% female audience. So
No, 4%?
yeah.
That's crazy. 4%?
Yeah, because when I started watching dating, like guys dating advice, like I wanted to give girls dating advice, like based on like understanding how men think a little more.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they didn't really want to hear me, I guess. So
Yeah, that's crazy. I would expect it to be like 50-50 for you, honestly.
No. I mean, my TikTok audience is 80% women, but I don't put this stuff on my TikTok because TikTok's kind of like, you have to be careful.
Social justice warrior, politically correct. Yeah. You are super popular on TikTok. I realized that the other day. You have like what, 600,000 or something?
Yeah, my ex-boyfriend had 22 million on TikTok.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so he yeah, I got like a lot of that following because I was like dating him.
What did he do, if you don't mind me asking?
He screams angrily positive things at the camera. So it's like, it's called angry reaction, but he'll just be like, "You're beautiful," and like scream it, like, or whatever. Yeah.
It's crazy. What a world we're living in where you can be a multi-millionaire just by screaming things at the camera.
No, yeah, he went from like being homeless to like having, like being super successful like overnight.
Yeah. Well, good for him. I mean, props on that. Yeah, awesome, Pearl. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. So if people want to support your channel, where should they go?
JustPearlyThings. That is my channel name, and that's my TikTok name too.
Yeah, guys, definitely check out her channel. She has some interesting stuff on there. I got a pretty good kick of like watching you. We were talking about this offline. Like, you do a lot of like funny videos, like, you know, having my 14-year-old sister react to like, you know, like Kevin Samuels or whatever.
Yeah.
But so you combine humor with like truth, which is what I like. I like that combination. It's kind of what I also try to go for on my channel. So definitely encourage you guys to check out her stuff. It's pretty good. If you guys are watching this on repeat, just check the links in the description. Any final thoughts, Pearl?
No, not really. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. I think this was fun.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. It's good to have you and good to connect. It's kind of getting all laggy, but all right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We got a Ross Jeffries coming on Thursday, so stay tuned for that. We got some more videos dropping this week, so make sure you smash the subscribe button and check out Pearl. Until next time.